we have some shocking developments that just came down from the New York Mets official account in regard to a top-end reliever in the Mets bullpen that gets shockingly sent to AAA. Another top-end reliever says that he might not be ready for the season, and we have the latest in regard to Brett Baty from the folks over at SNY. We're going to get to all that and much more next on MetCast. What's going on, everybody? As always, I am Ray. Welcome back to MetCast. And if you're enjoying this content, smash that like button, hit that sub button, turn that notifications on so you never miss a video like this in regard to some of the breaking news. Here it is. So here it is from the official New York Mets account. Right-handed pitcher Daniil Nunez has been optioned to AAA Syracuse. This is stunning. And I understand he's coming back from injury, but he was pitching. He was topping out at 98 miles an hour just a couple days ago in spring training. I wonder if this has to do with injury, and if it does, that could be a serious, monumentous step back for the New York Mets. I mean, let's be honest. He was so crucial to the back end of our bullpen prior to getting hurt last year. And if you don't believe me, here are his stats from 2024. 2-0, 2.31 ERA over 25 games, 35 innings pitched, and check out that whip. 0.91 whip. You can't make stats up like that. For me, I had him penciled in right next to AJ Minter, who we will get to in 1 second, as the 8th inning guy for this team. So seeing that he's being optioned to AAA, that is extremely concerning to me. Not only that, let's not act as if Jeff McNeil's not starting this season on the IR. So you can't make it like, well, they wanted the extra roster spot for Acuna and Baty. Only one of them were originally going to make it. And now with Jeff McNeil starting the season off on the IL, there is no need to option him unless there's injury, unless he's got some sort of setback, in my opinion. We'll wait for further news to come out, but that is extremely concerning to me. This back end of the bullpen, there's already been concern over Edwin Diaz and his velocity drop, which I'm not totally concerned about, but you see former pitchers like Trevor May go on the podcast and talk about how he might be concerned. The juices aren't flowing. It's only spring training, but this is cause for concern if I'm a New York Mets fan. Daniil Nunez was penciled in to be either the 7th or 8th inning guy, depending on lefty-righty matchup. Now I want to get to a quick interview that AJ Minter did, which also causes alarm for me. Let's give it a look.
There's been some question coming through the middle part of spring training, since you got a bit of a late start coming off hip surgery, whether you'd be ready for opening day. What are your thoughts right now?
Yeah, initially, last year during the season, I waited as long as basically I could before I had to make a decision, because I did want to be available for opening day. So, we were in a playoff push with Atlanta, and I had to make a decision where, I want to pitch for another, 7-8 years, hopefully. And to do that, I knew I needed to have surgery. So I figured in August, I shut it down, just knowing the rehab process would probably the doctor said 7 to 9 months. So 7 months is, I'm right at 7 months right now. And that's, the very beginning of when I would be back. But I feel great. And I think that was the biggest thing going into this is we're not going to rush it. We're just going to see how I throw and make a decision or a last-minute decision. And we're still doing it.
Think about what he just said right there. We're not going to rush it. I'm in the beginning stages. I think AJ Minter is going to be very limited to start the season. That's another cause for concern. We passed up on the Tanner Scotts of the world. We passed up on all the high-end relievers for AJ Minter, who obviously can be a high-end reliever. If you look at his last few seasons, he's been very up and down. Last year, very up, very good season. But if he's going to be limited and now Nunez is out, what is this bridge looking like to Edwin Diaz? We're back to the Reed Garretts, which nothing against Reed Garrett. Solid middle of the pen guy, but this is a massive blow. And it's a massive story in my perspective. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I mean, if it's one thing if they're saying, well, we want to give him an extra week to rehab and then we're going to bring him back up. Okay. But there was no clarity put out there. It was just a statement saying, well, we've optioned Daniil Nunez to AAA. That was it. This guy was so critical. What about Brazoban? What's going on with him? I mean, for me, I'm very concerned in regard to that. A bullpen could be an absolute killer, especially, let's be honest, our rotation, until proven otherwise, is kind of a question mark. What is Kodai Senga going to be? I feel really good about David Peterson. I feel really great about Clay Holmes' spring training. His stats speak for themselves, but it's not the regular season. And he's going to be on an innings limit and on a pitch count limit. So we're going to be relying heavily on our bullpen probably to start the year. I doubt Senga's going to go out there and throw 100 pitches. I know Clay Holmes is not going to go out there and throw 100 pitches. So we need this bullpen at full strength. And we're already having these kinds of things. Very big cause for concern. But now I want to move on to the next topic. The people over at SNY have debated Brett Baty whether or not he could put this full season together finally, which I think he will. I think this is the year of the resurgence of Brett Baty. I think at age 25, he's going to show a new type of mental maturity, which is going to allow him to blossom into the player that we always thought he could be. Former first-round pick and widely regarded as having the best hit tool in that draft class. And the only reason why he wasn't drafted earlier was because he was 19 when the rest of the prospects were 18. Widely regarded as one of the best hit tools in that class. But let's take a peek.
1, 2, 3.
Check it out right off the bat. Brett Baty, #1 OPS.
Before I declare a thumb war, John Harper and John Alba are here to play Thumb Wars. He was ready to go even before the graphic came up. You guys know how this works. I'll say a statement. If you agree, thumbs up. If you disagree,
let me know if you guys agree or
disagree
in the comments. I'd love to go back
and forth. Had success in spring and in the minors before. Thumbs up or thumbs down. This is the year that Baty finally finds success at the major league level consistently.
Oh, Harper, why are you doing dirty like that?
I don't want to be a hater, Michelle. I really don't. And I really like Baty. He's a coach's son. I've talked to him a bunch of times. He's the kind of kid you want to root for. But this is nothing new. He's done it in spring training, as you said before, and he's done it in the minors. I need to see him do it. Some guys never make the jump to the big league level and handle big league pitching.
But, John, they're not asking you what he's done in the past. They're asking if he could do it now. I mean, he says he wants to see it. The whole point of the conversation is, do you think it could happen?
You know, he's so I got to see him do it. I hope he does it, but I'm not convinced. Nothing he does in spring training is going to tell me anything has changed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
A couple years ago.
Well, let's be honest. If he had a bad spring training, people would be all over him. I think that's a fair enough thing to say.
He had 325 in spring training, and everyone was saying, "Oh, it's going to be the year he breaks out." The one avenue he does have potentially is second base, depending on what happens with Nick.
And also, let's be honest. He was more battling last year with Mark Vientos, and a lot of the Mets front office people were telling him he needs to improve on his defense. And I think he has done that. So maybe that he's settled in more at defense that could translate to his offense, because we have seen in the past plenty of people being affected of saying, hey, you got to work on your defense. Your offense then suffers.
Neil over the course of the season. And if he can create some distance there, I do think he's going to break camp on the main roster. But
they're giving him the second base.
Absolutely. Yeah. But a lot of scouts.
I agree with that. But a lot of people are going to see opening day. Probably Acuna is going to be there at second base only because of the left-handed matchup. People are going to say, oh, Brett Baty didn't get the job. I think they're going to platoon. But one thing that's going to be really interesting to see when McNeil comes back, and it might be short term, I think Acuna is going to be the guy that's going to be sent down, especially because of his age. They're going to want to see him getting full-time reps down in AAA, starting possibly at shortstop, second base, third base, get him all over the place, because let's be honest, they keep having to play shortstop. Lindor is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Scouts think that he can get overpowered at the plate, hit that home run 110 miles an hour there on Friday, so maybe he's trying to prove that he can't. But defensively, hopefully he improves. I'm not convinced that he breaks out, though, Michelle.
And that's what we have from the folks over at SNY. Let me know if you guys think if Brett Baty could actually break out this season, which I do. And I'm not saying break out as he's going to be an all-star. Let's not be foolish here. But if you're telling me 255 and 18 home runs, I would take that all day from second base. Jeff McNeil is hitting 230, 240, 250 with no power. And then we hear going into this season, he's going to start trying to lift the ball more, which is absolutely absurd, because we already know Jeff McNeil has warning track power type guy. He hasn't hit crazy home runs since the juice ball, for crying out loud. But again, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you're enjoying this content, make sure you like and subscribe. We'll keep bringing you all the breaking news Mets content. I'm so excited for opening day on Thursday. As always, let's go Mets. Peace, everyone.